Greetings people. Today I'm going to make blackberry jam because it's that time of the year. Blackberries have just come on and I went out picking them yesterday. And I picked 3 kilos of blackberries which I've stewed up here. I'll just give you a look. Hang on, I'll be back. Alright, let's have a look. Blackberries, stewed blackberries. Mmm. Nice. I love blackberries. I like eating them straight off the bush. I like eating them in jam. They'd just about be my favourite jam, blackberries. I love them in pie, blackberry and apple, blackberry and rhubarb pie, fantastic. As long as there's plenty of sugar. But when you go to make jam out of blackberries, if you try to make the jam of only blackberries, it's not, the texture's underwhelming in my opinion. I don't like the texture because the blackberries, when you stew them down, they turn into some hard things and some liquid, you know, and it doesn't really make a nice, you don't really get that nice soft body of a nice jam like plum jam, you know, where it's just a beautiful body, beautiful texture of plums through there. Lovely soft texture, or you know, or strawberries, lovely soft texture. So in order to achieve that texture and still have the taste of the blackberries, what I do is I make a 50-50 of blackberry and plum. So what I did was when the plums were in season, which was about a month ago, I bought some from the supermarket. I mean normally, and I stewed them up and I froze them, so you can see there. In the process of thawing out. Do have a plum tree myself, but it's had a really hard time, a bad time for the last 3 years. I haven't had any plums off my tree for 3 years, which is really sad. Normally I've got a huge amount and now I don't get any. Yeah, it's all ruined. Anyway, so I just bought some from the supermarket, stewed them up myself, and I got rid of the stones, you know. I got the stones by using a coarse sieve like that. And you just pass all your stewed plums through that, and it'll sieve out all the stones. You throw the stones out, don't want the stones. So, we're ready to go. We're ready to combine these two things. So what we do is we get a nice big jamming pot, which in my case is this, and measure in 1 kilo of blackberries. Grab a kilo of blackberries. Delicious blackberries, but right. Kilo and plus 30 grams, that'll be fine. Now we want to bring it up to 2 kilos by adding a kilo of plums. Bring it up to 2 kilos. Nearly there. Oh. 2 kilos plus 50 grams. Boom. Done. Put it on the stove, give it a stir, let it come up to temperature. I can put this away. So what I'll probably do is make another lot. I'll make this lot and I'll do the same again. I think I've got another kilo of plums there, so that'll be good. Yeah. Now, blackberries might taste fine. They might taste sweet to you when they're on the bush, but they're not really. They're not really. Once you stew them up, they're not sweet. I mean, they're a little bit sweet, but not really. So you really do need to add a lot of sugar to them, which is why you make jam. And even if you're making a pie, you still want to put a fair bit of sugar in to make the blackberries taste really good. Yes, blackberries. Bit of a mixed blessing, mainly a curse in Australia, the blackberry. And I've seen blackberries in the UK, and I've eaten blackberries in the UK straight off the bush. And you know, in the UK they're okay. The blackberry vines aren't too bad. They don't go too crazy, and you know, they're everywhere, but they're not really a problem. But in Australia, they are a problem. You've got to see a picture. Maybe I'll put up a picture of, if I can be bothered, or not if I can't be bothered, of what happens with Australia with blackberry vines. And you get massive, great, thick vines with huge thorns on them, and they grow like crazy because of the extra heat, the extra sun. They grow like mad. They cover huge areas. You know, you can't get into them. They tear you to pieces. They're really an awful, awful weed in this country. However, unlike the Scotch thistle that has absolutely nothing to recommend it in Australia, at least the blackberry, just it's a terrible weed like the Scotch thistle, but at least you can eat it. Can't eat the Scotch thistle, can you? So, very useful like that. So I do love the taste of blackberries. Alright, I'm going to stop waffling on. I'm sure there was something I was going to say, but I've forgotten what it was. So I'm going to stop waffling on, and I'm going to get this thing up to temperature, and I'll be back. Okay, now the blackberry and plum mix has come up to a simmer. So let's just have a quick look at that simmer. A quick look. And you can see the lovely dark mix of the blackberry and the red from the plums. So you get that lovely mixture of black and red. It's beautiful. Look at that colour. Fantastic. Let's just simmer in. So what I'm going to do now is put the sugar in. So it were 2 kilos of fruit, so there'll be 2 kilos of sugar. If you watched my strawberry jam recipe, you'll know I would have talked about that. So put the 2 kilos in. Mind you, you people that watch these vids, I don't know, you're pretty strange, you people, because virtually nobody watches them right through. Virtually nobody. And a lot of people watch my vids for like a minute and then turn it off. What's the point of that? You're not going to learn much in a minute. You should at least go to the end. Go to the end and watch the tasting. Go to the end and watch the tasting. Now that's the fun bit, right? What does it taste like? Is it any good? Can this Warren Mars guy cook, or is he just all bullshit? You know? You have to go to the end to see what the end product is. Can he do it or not? strawberry jam and the raspberry jam worked out really well, although there was a problem with the raspberry jam, but that wasn't my fault. That was the fault of the Chilean the frozen raspberry consortium. Don't buy Chilean frozen raspberries. That's the message there. I'll just show you what happens when you're waiting for the sugar to melt. See that big lump of sugar in there? Of course, the sugar is not melting, the sugar is dissolving. Anyway, it'll soon be dissolved. Like I said in my strawberry jam video, the people who are really anal about this, or they call themselves perfectionists, will warm the sugar first. They'll warm it in the oven and then they'll put it in bit by bit. Why bother? I don't think it makes any difference. My jam's always really good. There's no need to resort to extra lengths. Not in my opinion. Anyway, the sugar's mostly dissolved, not completely, mostly. Just leave that a bit longer and it'll be fully dissolved. Oh, there was one thing I was going to tell you before I went away, which was that you need to stew your blackberries up straight away after you've caught them. Right? You get your blackberries, pick them off the bushes. Don't wait. Don't put them in the fridge and leave them for a week, because they'll go mouldy. They'll go mouldy within 3 days. They've got the natural mould spores on them, and as soon as the fruit's taken away from the vine, they'll just go mouldy. So, ideally you take it home and you make the jam straight away. If you can't do it the same day, stew them up, put them in the fridge. Once they're stewed up, you kill the mould spores and they won't go mouldy. Or at least they won't go mouldy for quite a while. And if you're going to freeze your blackberries, which you can do, stew them up first. Stewing is your protection against, your prophylactic against them going mouldy. You are not going to want to eat mouldy blackberries. So, remember, pick them, stew them up straight away, or make jam out of them straight away, or cook them straight away. But if you can't cook them straight away, if you want to keep them, stew them first, 20 minutes, stew them up for 20 minutes, and then put them in the fridge or put them in the freezer, and they'll keep for months. Probably quite a lot of months in the freezer. Now, I've got 10.5 jars here ready for the jam to go into. This is sodium metabisulfite. So you want about a teaspoon of sodium metabisulfite. You can argue you don't need it, and maybe you don't need it, but it doesn't do any harm, I don't think. So we get about a cup, maybe a bit more than a cup, and just stir it around until the white chunks dissolve. The longer you leave them in the jar, the more firm they get, and they tend to try to form a hard mass, And you've got to chip into it with a big knife once it gets really bad. But you just chip into it, and once it goes into the water, they just dissolve anyway, so it doesn't matter. Now, as I said in my previous jamming recipe, my strawberry jam recipe, you need to keep an eye on your jam. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Jam is easy to make. You just need to follow the recipe, which is 50% fruit, 50% sugar. Easy to make. The thing that you can do to, the only thing you can do to wreck it is to let it burn. Let it burn or let it froth over. Both of these things can easily happen. If you walk away from your jam, you are asking for trouble. Do not leave the pot. Do not leave the pot till the jam is in the jars. Alright? If you follow my instructions, stay by the pot, keep an eye on it, stir it every minute or two, then you'll know. So when you stir it, you'll know if it's starting to catch on the bottom. And some things will start to catch, like if you make marmalade, marmalade will tend to catch. About the point where it sets, it'll tend to catch as well, so you've got to be very extra careful with marmalade. Now, blackberry and plum are two fruits that both have a lot of pectin. So, you won't have any trouble setting blackberry and plum jam. It sets really well. Oh, it's completely clear. Completely clear, my sodium metabisulfite solution. So what I do is I get my, I showed this on the previous one, but I'll show again for people that didn't see the strawberry jam. Fill the jar with the solution, dip it in so that the thread, the entire external thread on the jar is coated with the solution, and then put the lid in so that the entire lid is coated, and then you put that aside and you move on to the next one. It does not take long to coat your jars. So the threads are coated, the lid's coated, and what I do is I will drain them upside down so that they'll just drip dry. It's not much. I mean, it's only a very, very thin layer of sodium metabisulfite left on the glass, but it's enough to discourage any pathogens that are coming in, or unwanted invaders moving in on your jam. It's enough to stop it, although you can argue that with 50% sugar there's no problem anyway, which is probably true. Alright, so I'm just going to let that come up to temperature. I'm going to finish coating these jars and I'll be back when that thing's close to setting. Okay? Okay, the jam is coming along nicely. The jars are all ready to go. So let's have a look at what's happening with the jam. So as you can see, we're starting to get froth. Starting to get froth here, and we're getting a lot of bubbles. And this is the dangerous time, because if you don't watch it, as you can see, the jam's is only 1.5 inches away from the top of the pot, and it doesn't take much, and once it starts frothing, if it froths and bubbles too much, you will get overflow and it will go everywhere and you will be sorry. So this is where you have to be very careful. So we're not quite ready to skim the froth yet, but close. So that's just a sort of a warning. Don't take your eyes off it. Don't leave it for more than it. Don't take your eyes off for more than a minute. Don't leave it. In fact, yeah, be very careful. I'll be back when we're ready to set. All right, we're getting close. Getting very close to the setting point. I'll just give you a look at what's going on. We've got a good rolling boil there, and I can feel it's not
actually catching on the bottom, but it's getting noticeably more viscous. And sort of get a feeling that catching on the bottom is something that might happen, in the next 5-10 minutes. Here's the froth that I have removed. You'll notice there's not really any more froth coming out now.
So it's not really any more froth coming out. It's getting more viscous. It's glossy to look at. These are all signs that we're getting close to the setting point. So I've got a cold saucer from the fridge. And I'll take a little bit, just a little bit of jam. And I'll just put it back in the fridge. And I'll just give that a minute or two to cool right down, and we'll see whether it's set. And while this thing's bubbling like mad, big all over rolling boil, close to the setting point. When you've done a lot of them, like I have, you get a feel for it when it's close. I think it could still be a little bit more viscous, but it's close. Anyway, I'll wait until it is set, and when it's set, I'll show you the set point, and we'll bottle them. Okay, I believe we have reached the setting point. May have even gone past the setting point. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess. But anyway, I'll give you a look at what it looks like on the plate. So here's the plate. You can see the light shining off it. Now, first of all, you notice that it doesn't really drip away too much. And if I come in close on it and move it with my finger, see it crinkles? Crinkles, it makes a definite skin. There's definitely, see, look how it's mounted up there. It's made a definite skin. And look at this beautiful pot of blackberry jam. Look at it. Magnificent. That's what I've been working towards, blackberry jam. So, I believe it's well and truly set. Also, if you, the skimming spoon, when you try to rinse the skimming spoon, and the stuff you skimmed won't leave the spoon because it's stuck to it, very good indication that you've reached the setting point. Very good indication. So with all those indications, you shouldn't have any trouble making sure your jam is properly set. So, we fill one jar and we place the funnel in the next jar. While we put the lid on and store the other one. And then so on we go. And you know, bottling the jam is easiest job of all. Just need a funnel with a fat end on it. So what I did, a lot of the times you buy these funnels and they've got a thin end. Just get a really sharp knife and cut it off, make it thicker. See, I just cut it off. I think I might have used a saw even to cut it, because you need it quite fat for certain things like chutney. You know, if you're making chutney, which I probably will. I like to make red tomato chutney. Great way to use up your red tomatoes, and it's a fantastic topping for meat or cheese or lots of things. Really good. A really good chutney is a joy. A joy. A thing of beauty and a joy forever. Well, I've got a feeling that's a slightly wrong quote of John Keats. Pretty sure that was John Keats. If any of you are into poetry, if you are into poetry, you'll know about John Keats, whose name was writ in water. But as Oscar Wilde said, it shall stand. You know, one of the all-time great English poets, John Keats. So if you like poetry, check him out. Probably, it's unlikely that you'll like everything he did. Very unlikely. I mean, he did a lot of that kind of epic, overblown, flowery prose, talking about, harking back to ancient Greece, you know, and the Arcadian glades, which really, Arcadian glades, I imagine they'd be rocky. They're part of Greece, I imagine they'd be quite rocky. But I've never been there, so I don't know. But you know, I get the feeling that these Victorian English men who wrote that kind of stuff, you know, like Keats and Byron and Tennyson, and I got the feeling that they thought ancient Greece was like Britain in summer, you know, or England in summer. Flowery glades. Rambling blackberries. That kind of thing, you know. That's the feeling I get. But I don't reckon ancient Greece would have been like that. But anyway, what do I know? I've never been to ancient Greece, so I don't know. How much more have we got? Whoa. So I prepared 10.5 jars. I think I've got about a half a jar left, but maybe what I'll do is I'll just put it all into the last jar. So it might be too much for half a jar, it won't be enough for a full jar, and that'll be fine. It'll be fine. There we go. Yeah. Whew. So 9.5 jars of blackberry and plum, that is to say Japanese plum. Not sure which variety, whether Satsuma maybe, might have been Satsuma. I mean the pot here is very, very sticky. And indicates that the jam is set. When it sticks to the side and doesn't want to come out, then you know it's set. And you can just eat it. Fantastic. What I'll do is I'll try it tomorrow when it's all set and gone properly set. Tomorrow morning I'll bring it out, I'll put on some toast and eat it. But I can tell you, hot jam, just fantastic. You know, if you like plums, and you like blackberries, it's a delight because there's all the sweetness of the sugar. And it concentrates the flavour, the delicious flavour of the blackberries and of the plums. I mean, I can taste the plums and I can taste the blackberries. That's all there is. Plums, blackberries and sugar. There's nothing else. It's just fantastic. And when you eat it hot like this, well, it's cooled down a bit now, but fresh hot jam. Really is lovely. Lovely, tasty, sweet. Just eat it. You can just eat it. So good. Really good. And what did it cost me? You know, plums were in season, they were cheap. Sugar's cheap. Blackberries cost me nothing. Took me maybe an hour and a half to pick 3 kilos. So you pick about a kilo every half hour. And it was pretty warm in the sun, so it was a bit kind of hard work by the end. Got a bit hot. It was a hot day yesterday. But anyway, didn't cost much. I've got almost 10 jars, and I'm going to do it all again, because you saw how much extra blackberries I've got and how much extra plums I've got loads. So I'm going to do it all again tomorrow, and then I'll have 20 jars of plum and blackberry jam. That'll keep me out of trouble for, I guess, a whole year. Alright, there it is. Plum and blackberry jam. That's how I make it. Been making it for a decade and more than a decade. It's just fantastic. Fantastic, I love it. It's probably my favourite jam. I have it on my cereal every morning and on my toast lunch. Alright, catch you next time. Okay people, it's the morning after, so the jam is well and truly set in the interim overnight and for the rest of the day, because I made the jam in the morning. I try to do my recipes in the morning to get the light balance right between the overhead LED lighting and the ambient lighting coming in the window. I try to get it even, you know, so it's not overbalanced one way or the other. If I film in the afternoon, if I get direct sun coming in through these west-facing windows, just blows all the highlights out. No good. So some of the jars I made yesterday. It's definitely set, right? It's definitely set. Let's just have I'll give you a look inside that. I might have to come around this side. Right. Let's have a look inside. You can't. There's no way you can see through this. It's blackberry jam. You're not going to see through it. Still got there's a bit of red in it still from the plums, you know. Oh, look at that. Perfect. That's just lovely. Lovely body to it, you know. Soft, nice and soft, but just strong enough so that it'll hold together and won't fall out of the jar. Exactly what you want from jam. So that was the perfect set, I'd say, the perfect set. Alright, we'll just do the money shot here. Maybe put a cup of tea. Cup of tea in the background. Cup of tea can come a bit closer maybe. Yeah, you can see the bits of little bits of blackberry distributed amidst the plum. So what does it taste like? Oh. Yeah. That is what you want from jam. And from a nice piece of toast, Martian toast here. Decent amount of butter and decent amount of jam. You bite into it and it gets hit with the explosion of flavour that starts with the plum, then bang, I've got a sudden rush of the blackberry flavour on top of it. Really good. So yeah, the plum's there. There's as much plum as there is blackberry, so the plum's there. And I like plum jam, I really do, it's great. And it's just got the most fantastic body, plum jam. And blackberry's got the incredible flavour, you know. Butter, Martian bread, you know, which is half wholemeal. You know, it's a simple thing. Toast with butter and jam. Really, really simple thing. A lot of people start their day with it. I know, if it's good bread and it's good butter and it's good jam, it's a great thing, you know. Really great thing. Hits the spot. Really good. So, that's how to make blackberry jam. Blackberry and plum jam. Very good. I'll be eating this all year. I made nearly 10 jars yesterday. I'm going to probably make another 10 today. Fantastic. I won't be running out in a rush. Maybe it'll last more than a year. Maybe. Anyway, happy days people. Enjoy your breakfasts.